Good morning, Committee Secretary. Do we have a quorum?
Good morning, Chair. We're correct. Shall I do the roll call, Chair?
Please do so.
Ms. Mwatse,
Recording
Good
in
morning.
progress.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning, colleagues. I'm present.
Good morning.
Chair, Mr. McPherson,
I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Chair, Dr. Ntwane,
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
Chair, Mr. Mbuyani,
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I'm present. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Mr. Malamatia,
Morning, Chair. Morning, colleagues. I'm present. Thank you.
Good morning.
Mr. Thring,
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning.
Chair, Mr. Mulder and Ms. Mulyani is trying to join us as we are speaking, Chair. Mr. Mulder is
Okay.
just on the platform.
Okay. But we're correct.
We're correct, Chair, and the others may still join us, Chair. There's only
Okay.
two.
Okay. Can
Good
we
morning,
have,
Chair. Apologies. It's Member Mulder here. I've got connectivity problems, but I'm on the platform.
okay, thank you. Good
Ms.
morning.
Mulyani also join us, Chair.
Okay, great. So we only have one absent member. Mr.
He is at the
Monakedi.
moment. Two, no, and Mr. Bergman.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's fine. Let us have the agenda, please. Thank you. Can we check whether there are any apologies that's been tabled?
There are no formal apologies that's been tabled. I'm assuming that others members may still join us. If I do receive an apology, I will alert you to it, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. Members, there's the agenda for today. Can I check whether we have a move and a second for the adoption of the agenda, please?
Chair,
Yes, Honorable.
I'm
One.
moving for the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you. Honorable Mbuyani.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. I second the proposal for the adoption of the agenda as reflected. Thank you.
Okay, our agenda being duly adopted. Let us get into the meeting. Yeah, that's fine. So at our meeting held on the 7th of November, 2023, we resolved that the DTIC and the Parliamentary Legal Advisor should prepare an A-list on both bills for the consideration of the committee. Also, the committee agreed that it would consider all matters that fall outside the scope of the bill and whether it should form part of the current process, or that matters be considered in the 7th Parliament. The committee also resolved that members should take the proposed amendments presented on the 7th of November 2023 to their respective caucuses to get clear party positions on it. Therefore, today, the committee needs to consider, firstly, any matters that fall beyond the scope of the bill before proceeding with considering the A-list of both bills. And then, secondly, the A-list of both bills, giving instruction to the Secretariat to submit both A-lists to CREDA to prepare the bills. We will then, first of all, have a briefing by the Ms. Ibrahim, the Parliamentary Legal Advisor. Ms. Ibrahim, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning to yourself and all the other members on the platform, as well as our colleagues internally at Parliament and the department. Chairperson, the first matter that we need to consider is whether, further to the presentation that I did last week on those matters that fall outside of the ambit of the bill and that would require us to seek permission from the National Assembly and to conduct further public participation, or otherwise just to conduct further public participation, whether the committee wishes to proceed in that manner and consider some or all of those matters. If that is the case, Chairperson, we would need to go through the matters again for the committee to clearly indicate which matters it would like the department to consider, and then we would need to draft the necessary documents to get the permission from the NA and do all that is necessary for public participation. So as I indicated last week, Chair, that would obviously take a few weeks, but we are at the hands of the committee in that regard. So if members would like me to go through that presentation again, Chairperson, I can do that, but it was done at the last meeting as well. Thank you.
Okay, but I think if you can just, you don't have to go through the whole document, but just give us a sort of a summary on each of the matters that falls outside the scope of the bills, Ms. Ibrahim.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson. The first one was a public submission that we should amend Section 610 of the Act. And that was a section that's not covered in the amendments, and it's to enable other forms of electronic communication. So in other words, just to keep up with current times, because the bill doesn't provide for any electronic, or the Act rather doesn't provide for any electronic means of communicating circulars, notices of shareholders' meetings, and such similar documents. They still need to be done by post. The next one, Chair, was subsection 31, also a subsection that does not form part of the bill, and therefore we need to seek the permission of the House. And there, it's a section that requires companies to compile their annual financial statements within 6 months after year end. And they were looking at the fact that neither the SIPS or the Companies Tribunal appears to have the jurisdiction to consider when those 6 months can be extended. So that was something that they wanted to add there for clarity. Then, Chairperson, as we discussed last week in some detail, there were public submissions that recommended that the gender pay gap and gender pay ratio rather would also be included as part of the remuneration report. I indicated that we would need to get the permission of the House to do that, and the department also responded on that particular concern to say that they would need some time to formulate what the requirements would be in respect of that gender pay gap. Then, Chair, Section 57A, that deals with corporate governance codes, also similarly does not form part of the bills before us. And the JC, we know, mandates the disclosure of the application of the King Principles for listed entities, but there's no similar requirement in legislation, and the public submissions were asking that we make this a requirement, that companies confirm and stipulate whether they've applied the King Report principle and practices. Then moving to Section 62, notice of meetings. This was a concern raised by Computershare, and this is a section, Chair, that deals with requirements for notices of meetings. And they propose that the company's AGM notice refers to where it's published its summarized financials on its website, and also instructions on how shareholders, and of course it would also now be any person that would be interested, because we've extended the right to any person to inspect those documents, for them to indicate where those may be accessed on their website. The next one, Chair, was to do with board composition and nomination criteria. And the request there was that the Companies Act be amended to also cover the general requirements or considerations a company must make in respect to how it composes its board and on its nomination and selection process. And this was to ensure that you have a varied board with the necessary skills. And so they provided a proposed draft clause of what that should look like, and how those vacancies should be filled, dealing with conflicts of interest and so on. Then, Chair, moving to the next one, Section 66, capital B. This was on training and development of directors, and there was a recommendation there that there must be training for a compulsory requirement that all directors be trained and be continuously developed professionally, and they've also proposed wording over there. Chair, Section 69 then, that deals with the disqualification of persons to be a director or prescribed officer, as well as Section 76, which deals with standards of a director's conduct. And public submissions indicated that the Act at the moment has no minimum criteria that directors must meet to serve on a board, but rather does it the opposite way around. So it's got disqualification criteria. And they're recommending that there also be appointment criteria. So speaking to the specific skills or knowledge that a director would need to have to fulfill that role. Then, Chair, moving along, Section 75, Director's Personal Interests. This was a concern that because the definition of related persons is broad, it may have the unintended consequence that an entire board or a majority of a board of a company is unable to consider a matter where it involves two or more companies on which one director may sit on. So they wanted us to have a look at that and those unintended consequences. And they proposed various ways in which it could be fixed. Then, Chair, Section 128(1)(f), which deals with financial distress. There was a concern that it does not define insolvent, and that the Act refers to solvency and liquidity, and that this is then creating confusion. And they said that to adhere to the purpose of the Act, after considering the definition of business rescue, one must consider the complex financial position of the company when determining whether there's a reasonable likelihood of that company being insolvent in 6 months. Then, Chair, Section 145(4), that deals with the participation of creditors. And they've said that in 135, a landlord, because a landlord is usually an unsecured creditor, and in other circumstances a secured creditor, the fact that a creditor is not defined in Chapter 6, and it refers to both pre- and post-commencement creditors, means that it creates some uncertainty, and that should be clarified. And that brings me to the end, Chair. So as I've indicated, it's for the committee to decide whether it wants to look at these particular matters further. And if so, we would need to draft the necessary request to the National Assembly to obtain permission. And only once that permission is obtained will the committee then embark on a public participation process to look more closely at these issues. And then, of course, do the necessary drafting to make the amendments as proposed or as decided upon following the public participation, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ibrahim. Welcome to the meeting, Honorable Bergman. Members, there we have the presentation that you've heard again on the matters that was raised in our public hearings that fall outside the present scope of the bill. Can I hear, members, what your thinking is? So we have two options. One option is to proceed with these matters, and remember the gender pay gap as part of it. A gender pay gap disclosure which needs to go back to the House. And the other alternative is, of course, for it to stand over to the 7th Parliament, these matters. Can I take hands, please? Honourable Mbuyani and Honourable McPherson. Honourable Mbuyani.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to colleagues. Let me first welcome the presentation made by Parliamentary Legal. Chair, I wanted to propose that those matters that fall outside the scope of the bill should not be included. And also that the DTIC review these proposals and determine whether it should be included in the future amendment bill. And also, secondly, Chair, we should also make a specific recommendation that the gender gap disclosure must be further investigated by the DTIC and also be captured in the legacy report. Thank you. That will be the proposal.
Thank you. There we have one proposal. Honourable McPherson.
Thanks, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. I want to differ from my colleague, Honourable Mbuyani. I think that we must do everything that we can to include these proposals into the bill, because on the one hand, we can't talk about serious issues like gender disparity in terms of pay, and then say, well, we'll leave it to the future, because we even know that even if it was left to the 7th Parliament, that it could take years for that to be dealt with and introduced. I think that if we continue on the process that we are on, I think that we can manage this to be concluded before the 6th Parliament rises. But I think that we must match actions with words. And I'm greatly concerned that if we outsource this to another Parliament to another time, that we will not be true to the constituents and to the calls that have been made to address some of these very serious issues. So I would advocate that we accept the recommendations that have been presented to us, and that we proceed in that manner. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So that's a counter proposal. Can I then, so we have two proposals on the table at the moment. Can I hear the members whose hands are still up, and then we can decide how we're going to proceed? Honourable Ntwani.
Good morning, Chair, and thank you for the presentation to the Parliamentary Legal Advisor. Chair, we have come so far in terms of the process that we've embarked on in order to complete this bill and the amendments to it, the Act. And I would rather propose, Chair, because in terms of taking the process forward, that we rather put it over to the future, to the 7th Parliament, and where they can specifically and conclusively and without a process of hurrying the actions to rather, so my proposal is to support Honorable Mbuyane to put the process over to the next Parliament, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Honorable Mbuyane's proposal has been seconded. Honorable Mulder.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. There's certainly merit in both the proposals, but I would like to second Honourable McPherson's proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So both proposals have been seconded. Committee Secretary, how do we proceed?
Morning, Chair. Seeing that there are two proposals on the table for consideration, we now need to proceed to the first proposal and whether that holds and have a vote on the matter, Chair. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we will, is your hand up again, Honourable McPherson?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Thanks, Chair. I really am dismayed at the lack of willingness to deal with these very serious issues. And you see, the problem that we find ourselves in is that this now starts to smell and look like an attempt to pass legislation for the sake of it, as opposed to actually dealing with the very serious issues that are before us. And we know that gender pay disparity is a very serious issue. Many political parties that exist in Parliament claim to be very vocal about these issues. We know that it is a very strong cry in society to deal with these issues. But when we then have a chance to deal with them, we say, no, we don't have to deal with them, we'll deal with them later. And I think that it is a very dishonest position to claim one thing, but then not match that with actions. And there has been no reasonable position put forward as to why we can still not deal with these amendments and finalize the bill before the 6th Parliament rises. We just want to, give our responsibility that the electorate have offered us and given to us and mandated us to take into Parliament. We want to outsource it to somebody else. And I still haven't heard a cogent reason as to why we won't be able to finalize this. And it starts to look and feel more like we just need to finalize this for the sake of it, as opposed to actually, putting substantive changes on the table that will deal with the very serious issues. And one of them is gender pay disparity. So I really think we need to have a discussion around that, because we're just being told no by a political party, and we're not actually being given any reasons why. And I think that we owe the women of this country, or some of us owe this women of a country, an explanation as to why they don't want to implement a fundamental change that can deal with gender pay disparity. They just say, well, we'll deal with it later. I think that they owe the electorate and they owe the people that have voted us into Parliament explanation as to why they don't want to do that. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We still have two proposals on the table. I think we will proceed with a vote. We take note of the input of Honourable McPherson. Honourable Mbuyane has substantiated in his input why he is proposing that it be dealt with at a later stage. Can I just ask the committee to go through the procedures for the vote?
Chair, if I may suggest that you put the first proposal on the floor for a vote, and I'll call out the names of members, Chair, if you do that.
Yes. Yes, the proposal is the proposal of Honorable Mbuyani. Can we?
Chair,
can
Ms.
we-
Moatse, I'll call by name, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade Chair, Honorable Chair, and I agree. We must proceed.
Thank you. Mr. McPherson?
Thank you, Chair. Oh, thank you, Andre. I vote no, because I think that we must be true to our words, and I would much rather be on the support of dealing with gender pay disparity as opposed to just talking about it. So I vote no to Mbuyani's proposal. Thanks.
Dr. Mtwane?
Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Chair. I vote yes to Mr. Honorable Mbuyani's proposal.
Mr. Mbuyani?
Thank you very much, Chair. I stand by my proposal. Thanks.
Mr. Malamatia?
Honorable Malamacha, please unmute.
I think we have to proceed.
Okay, I will come back to
Allow
Mr.
me to
Malamatia.
chair, Honorable McPherson. I was just going to suggest that we proceed and come back to Honorable Malamacha. Maybe he
Mr.
has
Three?
connectivity problems.
My apologies, Chair, Mr. Three.
ACDP does not support.
Ms. Glonyana? Ms. Glonyana? She was on the platform earlier, Chair. She is still on the platform. I'll go to Mr. Mulder.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. The Freedom Front Plus won't support a delay, so it's no.
Chair, Mr. Monakedi.
Hello, I support the proposal as put forth by Mr. Mbuyani.
Chair, Mr. Bergman.
Thank you. I'm glad to have mine recorded as a no.
Chair, I'll go to Mr. Malamatia.
Chair, I support the proposal by Mr. Mbuyani.
Chair, and we call for your vote as well.
And Ms. Glonyana?
Ms. Glonyana, I'll try again.
Okay, let's proceed. She must have connectivity. Is she on the platform?
She's on the platform, Chair. And
Okay.
just record your vote as well, Chair.
Okay, no, that's fine. I vote yes.
Okay. So, Chair, based on the vote, we have 6 members in favor, 4 members against. We do not have Ms. Glonyana's vote because she's not responding to the call. So we have the support for Mr. proposal that the matter be stand over to the 7th Parliament. Chair, I propose that we've just for record purposes, we record the vote on Mr. McPherson's proposal, Chair, if we may.
Yes, you may proceed.
Ms. Moatse on Mr. McPherson's proposal.
Thank you, Andre, and thank you very much, Chairperson. I vote no on the proposal of Mr. McPherson.
Mr. McPherson?
I vote yes, because I stand by my words. I match action with words. Thank you.
Thank you. Just your vote, please, member.
Dr. Ntwani?
I vote no.
Mr. Mbuyani?
No,
Mr. Malamatia?
Chairperson.
I vote no.
Mr. Threen?
Yes.
We'll try Ms. Fonyana again, Chair. Mr. Mulder?
I vote yes, Chair.
Mr. Monakeri? Mr. Monakeri?
Yes, I was saying I vote no.
Mr. Bergman?
Okay, that's a yes from me. Thank you.
I'll try Ms. Fonyana again before the Chair. Chairperson?
I vote no.
Chair, we have this. The vote for the second proposal is 4 in favor and 6 against, Chair. So the proposal of Mr. Mbuyani stands. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. With that vote having been concluded, we can now proceed with the presentation of the A list. I think it will be done by the legal advisor, Ms. Ibrahim.
That's correct, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, before I start with the A list, I just wanted to provide an update on the legal opinion. Members will recall that the department sourced an external legal opinion. That opinion has been received. It was done by Advocate Baloy, who's a very well-respected senior counsel at the Johannesburg Bar. And in terms of her opinion, Chair, she has indicated that both of the clauses, and members will recall that clause 4 gives the right to any person to inspect and copy records of companies above a certain threshold, as well as clause 5, which required the naming of prescribed officers and directors when listing their remuneration. She's indicated that both of those are not per se unconstitutional and would be defendable in terms of the limitations clause and the right to privacy. So that opinion therefore clears the way for the committee to proceed with those 2 clauses if it still wishes to. The opinion, Chair, also extended to the company's second company's amendment bill, and specifically the issue of retrospectivity. And over there, Chair Council was also in agreement that there is nothing unconstitutional about those provisions being applied retrospectively. There was one issue which Council raised about the fact that we've excluded the Prescription Act in its entirety, and it may have an unintended consequences that a judgment debt, which is treated differently to a normal debt, which prescribes after 3 years. The Prescription Act provides that a judgment debt, you would have 30 years to claim that. But after careful consideration of that, Chair, we are of the view that the way in which the clause is drafted makes it clear that the exclusion of the Prescription Act is only limited to the purpose of that clause, which is to allow persons to try and recover those losses or damages from a director and to extend those periods. So we don't believe that it's necessary for that to be amended any further. But Chair, I'll start with the second company's second amendment bill, just because it's a little bit quicker. And I'll ask Margaret to please share her screen. So Chairperson, just to remind members that what an A-list seeks to do is to give a sort of line-by-line account of anything that is going to change in the amendment bill. So the way in which one would read this is to look at the amendment bill on the one side, and then have your A-list with you, and where the A-list refers to page numbers and line numbers, that would be the page number in the amendment bill as introduced, and the line members would see is indicated on the right-hand side of the amendment bill. So you can see where Marga has it now. You can see line 5 and line 10 by way of example, and that is how you would read it. Chair, starting off with clause 1 on page 2 in line 3, we've updated the header there, and the purpose of these headers, Chair, is to indicate the times when a section that is now being amended has also previously been amended. And in this case, the introduced bill did not indicate that there was actually a further amendment of this particular section 77 in 2011. So we've simply just updated that for completeness. Then on page 2, from line 7 to line 13, we've omitted the subsection 7 in its entirety as appeared in the bill, and we've substituted it with a new subsection 7. And the reason we did that, Chair, was because we were concerned that the drafting wasn't clear that the retrospectivity would apply to the section. So that is what we were trying to get across with the redrafting. Nothing changed in terms of the principle of the section. And this section, just to remind members, allows the court to extend the time bar for when a director can be held liable for damages or to recover any losses or costs. So whereas that time period is set at 3 years, you may apply to the court for that period to be extended, and you may do so even in respect of matters that arose prior to this amendment bill being promulgated. So if I read it, Chair, and what you see in the inverted commas, that is how it would read when it's passed and how it would be inserted into the Principal Act. And it says, Chair, 7, in relation to the proceedings to recover any loss, damages, or costs for which a person is or may be held liable in terms of this section, the Prescription Act 1969, Act number 68 of 1969 does not apply. Paragraph B, subject to paragraph C, such proceedings may not be commenced more than 3 years after the act or omission that gave rise to that liability. And C, the court may, on good cause shown, extend the period referred to in paragraph B, and that would be the 3-year period, regardless of whether such period has expired or not, or the act or omission that resulted in the loss, damages, or costs contemplated in this section occurred prior to the promulgation of the Companies Amendment Act 2023. And the reason why the act number is blank there, Chair, is because, of course, we don't know what the act number is yet. But if this were to be passed, that would be inserted. Then moving on to clause 2, Chair. Clause 2 dealt with the recommendations of the Zondo Commission to extend the time bars in section 162, 2 and 3 of the Principal Act, and also then to allow a court on good cause to further extend. And this deals with the application to declare director delinquent or to apply for an order placing that director under probation. And members will recall that the time bar in the current Principal Act was 24 months, and it's now being extended to 60 months. And And so it reads, and I'm skipping to 2, Chair, because number 1 on clause 2 is exactly as the number 1 on clause 1. It's merely just to indicate that the section has also been amended in 2011. So on page 2, from line 22 to line 28, to omit subsection 2 capital A, and to substitute it now with the following new subsection. And I'm reading exactly as it will be in the Principal Act. 2A, the court may, on good cause shown, extend the period contemplated in subsection 2A, and that would be the 60 months, in respect of any of the circumstances contemplated in subsection 2B, regardless of whether such period has expired or not, or the circumstances occurred prior to the promulgation of the Companies Amendment Act. And then similarly, Chair, the next one reads exactly the same, and that's on page 3, from line 7 to 13. We've omitted the subsection 3A there, and we've substituted it with a new subsection, which reads in almost identical terms, and it says the court may, on good cause shown, extend the period contemplated in subsection 3A in respect of any of the circumstances contemplated in subsection 3B, regardless of whether such period has expired or not, or the circumstances occurred prior to the promulgation of the Companies Amendment Act. Chair, Council had an opportunity to look at that drafting and was in agreement that it now clearly shows that it is to be applied retrospectively. If members are satisfied with the manner in which this is drafted, Chairperson, we will now proceed to send this to CREDA to put it in the proper format and to produce the B-bill, and it's those 2 documents that would then get adopted, Chair. So I'll allow you to consider before I move on to the next bill, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ibrahim. Members, there's the A list for the company second amendment bill. I don't see any hands, so I think we are fine with that. Thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm proceeding now to the Companies Amendment Bill. This was our longer bill, and there are more changes here. Chairperson, the first change is clause 1, and it's similar to on the other bill where we've just, on page 3 from line 3, we omitted the heading and replaced it with a new heading to clearly show the amendment history of this particular section, because it had omitted to indicate that section 55 of Act 22 of 2022 also sought to amend the section under consideration. Number 2, Chair, on page 3 in line 16, we've omitted the first comma, and that was merely a typographical error that we picked up because the introduced amendment bill included a comma after the definition of securities that didn't belong there. So we've taken the opportunity to remove that. Number 3, on page 3 in line 16, after the word act, the second comma has to be underlined. So that's just a correction because it's an insertion. So we're merely showing that. Then on page 4, number 4, on page 3 in line 18, we've substituted the word and with a full stop. And the reason was, you will recall, Chair, that we took out the definition of Treasury regulations. So this comma, this and here was to indicate that there was another definition that was still to come. So that's now been removed and substituted with a full stop. And then number 5 on page 3 from line 19 to omit paragraph C, and that would have been that definition of Treasury regulations. So nothing substantive as such in that clause, Chair. Then clause 2, on page 3 from line 31, we've omitted subparagraph 2, and we've substituted it with a new paragraph where we talk about such later date, if any, as set out in the notice of amendment. And Chair, this was just to clean up the drafting, as I'd indicated last week, because it was unnecessarily long, but it does not have any material bearing on the clause at all. It's a simple drafting issue. Moving to clause 4, On page 4 in line 14, we've omitted no more than. And on page, and this must be read together then also with number 2. On page 4 from line 14, we've omitted maximum charges and substituted it with the word fee. And this was because the previous clause was unnecessarily wordy because it had referred to a person who is paying for the inspection of company documents not being charged more than the maximum charges. And it's not necessary. You merely need to indicate that the person needs to pay the prescribed fee. So all we've done there is just shorten it. Then, Chair, on page 4 in line 30, we've omitted the words in terms of, and we've substituted it with as contemplated in. And this will recall came from public submissions that said that the words in terms of is not consistent with the rest of the Principal Act, which talks of as contemplated in. So that was merely just for consistency. Then also on page 4, Chair, in line 32, before the word opportunity, we've inserted requester the, and we've omitted in line 33, the following line to the person making such request. And again, Chair, this is merely to clean up wording. So just to refer to the person as the requester rather than the person to the, rather than referring it as to the person making the request in full. So again, just to clean up. On clause 5, Chair, on page 4 in line 41, and this is the clause that deals with the naming of the prescribed officers and directors. We just wanted to make sure that it's clear that both prescribed officers and directors must be named, and they must be named individually. So you want each person's name to be listed. So this is what these amendments seek to do. We've inserted the word individual before director to make it clear that it's each director. And then on page 4 in line 41, we've omitted the or and substituted it with an and we explained that last week that there might be some confusion when you say prescribed officers or directors, that it may be interpreted as an election to give the remuneration details of either one, whereas in fact it should be both categories. So on page 4, also in line 42, we've omitted and such individual, and we've substituted with both of whom, and that would be both of whom now must be named. Then, Chair, on clause 6, and this is where there is substantive changes. These are the first substantive changes in the bill. There's an insertion of a new section 30A and 30B. And Chair, you'll recall that on this section, it's the one that dealt with the remuneration report and the remuneration policy and the consequences that flow when the remuneration report is not adopted. And there were quite a bit of public submissions on this. People found it a little bit confusing. There was a redraft that was presented last week, Chair, which we've further cleaned up. What we've now done is to actually split this into 2 sections. We've got a 30A now that deals specifically with just the remuneration policy. So everything that has to do with the remuneration policy is dealt with in 30A and then dispensed with. And 30B then moves on to the remuneration report. So in terms of 30A, Chair, subsection 1 there, all public companies and state-owned companies must prepare and present for approval a remuneration policy as contemplated in subsection 2. And subsection 2 says that this remuneration policy must be presented to and approved by shareholders at the annual general meeting by an ordinary resolution, and if not approved, must be presented at the next annual general meeting or at a shareholders meeting called for such purpose. It also says that this policy remains in force for a period of 3 years from approval and must be approved every 3 years thereafter. So, Chair, the purpose of that is just to ensure that companies reconsider their remuneration policies at least every 3 years. But C is then a proviso that it may in fact be amended earlier than the 3-year period, and it says it may be amended prior to the end of the 3-year period, provided that any material amendment can only be implemented after it's approved by the shareholders by an ordinary resolution at a shareholders meeting called for this purpose or at an annual general meeting. And the reason for that, Chairperson, is that you want to ensure that once the policy is adopted at an AGM, that there aren't any sneaky attempts to amend that policy without it serving before shareholders again. Chairperson, then 30B, duty to prepare and present the company's remuneration report. And Chair, what we've done here is we've started off by adding definitions. And the reason for this is just to prevent unnecessary repetition within the clause and to also make it clearer to understand. So these definitions would only apply to this section 30B. And the first one is a definition of total remuneration, means all salary and benefits received, including any employer contributions to benefit funds and any short-term or long-term incentives, including share options and incentive awards. So you can see, Chair, that that's drafted quite widely, and the use of the word, the term including, means that it's not only limited to what's been listed here. Then employee means an employee as defined in section 213 of the Labour Relations Act. And committee here means the remuneration committee of the company or any other committee of the company responsible for remuneration matters. That's just to cover if a company calls their remuneration committee something else. Margaret, we can move, okay, to 2. Each year, all public companies and state-owned companies must prepare a remuneration report in respect of the previous financial year for presentation and approval at the AGM. The remuneration report must consist of the following separate parts. A, the background statement. B, a copy of the company's remuneration policy as contemplated in section 30A2. And Chairperson, I understand this to be a copy of the remuneration policy that would have been in force the previous year. And then C, an implementation report containing details of 1, the total remuneration received by each director and prescribed officer in the company. 2, the total remuneration in respect of the employee with the highest total remuneration. Roman numeral 3, the total remuneration in respect of the employee with the lowest total remuneration in the company. And then the next one, the average total remuneration of all employees, medium remuneration of all employees, and the remuneration gap, reflecting the ratio between the total remuneration of the top 5% highest paid employees and the total remuneration of the bottom 5% lowest paid employees of the company. And this is this particular part is identical to the way it was. This is where the issue of the gender pay gap had arisen. It was in connection with this particular part of the clause. Then subsection 4, if the remuneration report is not approved by ordinary resolution as contemplated in subsection 2, the committee must present an explanation on the manner in which the shareholders' concerns have been taken into account at the next AGM. So it doesn't get accepted in 2022 at that AGM. It means that the following year in 2023, the committee, the remuneration committee, would have to come back and provide an explanation. And then 5, subject to subsection 6, if at the annual general meeting contemplated in subsection 4, so this would be the next annual general meeting after it was not approved, the remuneration report and the remuneration report in respect of the previous financial years also not approved by ordinary resolution of shareholders. So, Chair, this means that if for the second time you have a remuneration report that is now not approved, the consequence would be A, the directors who are not involved in the day-to-day management of the business of the company and who serve on the committee may continue to serve as directors, provided they successfully stand for re-election at that AGM. and 2 will not be eligible to serve on the Remuneration Committee now for a period of 2 years, calculated from the date of the annual general meeting contemplated in subsection 4. So at that second meeting, Chairperson, if once again they have a remuneration report that isn't approved, the consequence would be that whilst they may still serve as directors, they may only do so subject to being re-elected, and notwithstanding that they may be re-elected as a director, they would not be able to serve on the REMCOM for a period of 2 years, calculated from the date of that meeting. And then subsection 6 says that the provisions of 5A and B won't apply to members of the committee responsible for remuneration who have served for a period of less than 12 months in the year under review. And members will recall that this also came from public submissions who said it would be unfair for this consequent management to be applied to directors who haven't had the opportunity to in fact serve a full term. Moving on, Chair, to clause 7 on page 6 in line 6, to omit form with the prescribed fee and within the prescribed period, and to substitute that to merely say manner. And Chairperson, this was just to allow for clear drafting. So instead of repeating prescribed fee, prescribed period, and prescribed form, you merely say prescribed manner. Clause 9, this was a clause, Chair, that dealt with shares that have been paid for, that those monies be transferred to a stakeholder. And there were public submissions that said that the word trusted there for that stakeholder wasn't very clear, and there was agreement last week that we substituted for an independent stakeholder instead, and that also we make it clear that the stakeholder agreement must be in writing. So number 3 there, where we've omitted or an arrangement or understanding, is just to create certainty that this is a written contract that will be required, and not any sort of informal arrangement or understanding. Then, Chair, in clause 13 on page 8 from line 3, we've omitted paragraph Roman numeral 2 and substituted it with a new paragraph. And Chair, this is a clause that deals with when it would be permissible for a company not to have a social and ethics committee. And what we did there was just to clean the drafting to make it clear that the test would be one, that it's not, the test would be that it's not reasonably necessary for the company to have such a social and ethics committee. And how you would determine whether it's reasonably necessary is that you would consider the extent of the structures and activities of the company on the one hand, and on the other you would also consider public interest. And if both of those tests show that it isn't in fact reasonably necessary for the company to have such a committee, then they may be exempted from the requirement. Moving there to number 2, Chair, on page 8 in line 23, we've omitted the word or, and we've substituted it with the majority of. So previously, the amendment said that all the directors on the Social and Ethics Committee had to be non-executive directors, but there was agreement that it should now read that the majority have to be non-executive directors and not all. And the committee did deliberate on that last week. On page 8 in line 31, we've inserted the word not, and that was just a typographical error in the amendment bill. It should have said, because it was dealing with directors who are not involved in the day-to-day business, but the word not wasn't included, so we've done that there. And then on page 8 in line 44, we've omitted and appoint its first members. That would be the members of this Social and Ethics Committee, because the clause already says that the Social and Ethics Committee must be constituted. So it follows that once you constitute a committee, you would also appoint the members. So it was superfluous. In clause 19, Chair, that was the typo that was picked up in public submissions. It had a B instead of by, and so we've just made that correction. And then on clause 21, we had taken out the definition of treasury regulations and simply now just said it's regulations. So that's just a consequential change. And then on clause 23, Chair, this is purely cosmetic. Financial reporting pronouncements should not have been capitalized. So we've just done that in small letters. And then clause 24, Chair, this is also a consequential clause. It's merely indicating that in the arrangement of sections, there's now a section 30A and a section 30B, because in the amendment as introduced, we only had a 30A. But as I've indicated, we thought it necessary to split the remuneration policy and the remuneration report for clarity. And Chair, that takes me to the end of the A list for the company's amendment bill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ibrahim. So the process now going forward is for us to then formally, I see your hand, Honourable McPherson.
Thanks,
You
Chair.
may speak.
Yeah, I just want to go back to the clause around REMCOM. And it might have just been an internet break on my side. Can we just confirm that it is after 2 remuneration reports or meetings before the remuneration members must then stand aside for 2 years?
Okay, we're just finding that section, Ms. Ibrahim.
Yes, Chairperson, that's exactly correct. In the version that was introduced, it was a one-strike provision, and following public submissions, the Minister had then said that he was of the view that it could be 2 strikes, and they had agreed to it. It was discussed in the meeting last week, and it's been drafted as such.
Okay, so that clarifies, Honourable McPherson.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So our next step would be to check whether there are any other clarities needed by members. If not, and it seems that we are unanimous, we will then meet next week. I think we also need to consult the State Law Advisor's Office on the proposed amendments, and then we will formally consider both bills on Wednesday, the 23rd of November. Am I correct, Committee Secretary?
Chair, if the instruction of the committee is that we can submit the A list of both bills to CREDA, we shall do so, Chair, and then they will prepare a B bill. And once we have copies of that, we will distribute it to members, most likely either for the latest on Tuesday, because it's sometimes a process of proofreading that takes a while. So if the committee instructs us to do so, we shall do so, Chair.
Okay, do you need a formal proposal and seconder?
Just to, not necessarily, but we can do so, Chair. Then we also have it accurately recorded in the minutes.
Yeah, thank you very much, committee. We're looking for a formal proposer and a seconder for the second amendment bill to go to CREDA, and then for the State Law Advisor's Office to be consulted on the proposed amendments. Honourable Mbuyane. Unmute, Honourable Mbuyane.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Chair. I propose that we accept the presentation, and also wait for the state law advisor and also the creeder so that we will formally consider it next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Moatse.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I second the proposal.
Thank you. Honorable Malamacha.
Thank you, Chair. Le nna ke re ke la ka leo.
Oh, may I please get a translation?
Agreed.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the translation, Honorable Moatse. Okay, so that leaves us now with our next agenda item, which is consideration of minutes. Committee Secretary, you may take us through.
Chair, if I just may ask that you just give Margot a minute or two just to switch over so that we
Okay.
can flight it
So
because
let us
she's been
just take
chair.
a 5-minute break.
That will be appreciated, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, so let's reconvene at, let's make it 10 minutes and come back at 15:15.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Okay, a committee secretary, we can proceed with the minutes.
Thank you, Chair. If Morgan can flag the minutes of the 12th of September. Chair, we had a briefing by the DTIC on Black industrialists with a specific focus on the agro-processing and energy sector, and we also formally considered minutes. If you may go down, Morgan. We had an apology from Ms. McPherson for that meeting, Chair. Chair, number one is just the introductory, and then two is followed by the briefing by the minister led that briefing. 2.2 captured the issues raised by the members during that deliberations. And we formally consider minutes of the 7th, 13th, 29th, 30th, and 5th of September, as well as 6th of September. And the meeting adjourned until Wednesday. Should be Tuesday, the 12th, Chair. Thanks. No, so correct, Wednesday, the 13th. I'm confused.
Okay, thank you very much. Committee members, there we have the minutes of the
12th.
The 12th of September. Can we have a mover and a seconder for the adoption of these minutes, please? Honorable Moatse.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I move for adoption of the said minutes.
Thank you. Honorable Monakedi.
Thank you, Chairperson. I second the motion for the adoption of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Minutes are duly adopted. Next set of minutes.
Okay, the next set of minutes is Wednesday, the 13th September. We had a follow-up engagement with the Limpopo Department of Economic Development and Tourism, the Limpopo Economic Development Agency, and firms that we visited during the committee's oversight in February 2023 on the progress with respect to the Messina Mercado Special Economic Zone and the Shego Nkonkowa Industrial Park. Chair, we had an apology from Mr. McPherson and Mr. Biani for that day, Chair. Chair, number one, introductory, followed by number two, and it captures the committee's deliberations, issues that they raised. The meeting adjourned until the 19th of September, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Members, there we have the minutes of the 13th of September. Can we have a move and a second for the adoption of the minutes? Honorable Malamacha.
Thank you, Chair. I stand to move for the adoption of the minutes as true reflection of what transpired on the day.
Thank you. Honorable Moatse.
Thank you, Chair. I second the move.
Thank you. Minutes of the 13th of September duly adopted. Next minute.
The minutes of the 19th September, we had a briefing by the National Lotteries Commission on its first quarter financial and non-financial performance for the 23-24 financial year. We also had a briefing by the Competition Commission on its online intermediation platforms market inquiry report. Here we go down. We had a full house, Chair. Chair point 2 deals with NLC and captures the issues raised by the minister during that deliberations on their first quarter report, Chair.
Not the minister, Ms. Scholes.
Sorry, my apologies, Chair. And then it's followed by the briefing by the Competition Commissioner, Mr. Hodge, and captures the issues raised by the members during that engagement, Chair. Committee resolved to have a meeting with the NLC, the Special Investigating Unit and National Prosecuting Authority regarding the alleged corruption and maladministration at the NLC. And the NLC should submit a written response in relation to IT systems, Chair. The meeting adjourned until the 10th of October, Chair.
Thank you. Can we have a move and seconder? For the adoption of these minutes of the 19th. Honorable Monakedi.
Thank you, Chair. I move for the adoption of the minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Moatse.
Seconded, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, I see. Honorable Malamacha dropped his hand. So the minutes of the 19th are duly adopted. Next set of minutes.
Okay, we will be dealing with the minutes of the 10th. Which is
Sorry, are those all the minutes we're going to deal with now?
Chair, no, there are a couple
Okay.
of more minutes, Chair. Just there was a
Okay.
delay with Margot.
Okay.
That's still the same minutes, Margot. The 12th, I always said 10, I don't know why I say the 10th. The 12th of October, Chair, we had the, my apologies, the Office of the AG on the audit outcomes of the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition and its entities, followed by a briefing by the Minister and the DTIC on its annual report and its first quarter financial and non-financial performance report for the 23-24 financial year. We consider the committee program as well, Chair. Go down. Chair, we had all members in attendance. We had the introductory paragraph. Chair, we were briefed by Ms. Myberg and Mr. Momalo of the AG's office on the audit outcomes for the DTIC and its entities. And all those matters are captured in the report, Chair. Then that was followed by the Minister and the DTIC, and the Minister and Ms. Ramafola presented the annual report. And the Minister then proceeded with the first quarter financial and non-financial performance report of the DTIC. That report matters are captured in the detailed report. The committee considered its fourth quarter program and adjourned on at 22:02 on the until the 17th of October, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. Can we have a move and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the 12th of October? Honorable Monakedi.
Thank you, Chair. I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Is there a seconder? Honorable Malamacha.
Thank you, Chair. I stand to second the move of the minutes.
The minutes are then duly adopted. Next set of minutes.
The next set of minutes is the 17th of October. Chair, we had public hearings on the Companies Amendment Bill and a Companies Second Amendment Bill, Chair, on that day. We had a submission from BUSA, Chair, led by Mr. Kovadia, and the issues captured by the raised by the members. We are followed by submission by the JSE, led by Dr. Fourie and Mr. Visser. We had a submission from the King Committee on Corporate Governance, led by Ms. Ramalo. We had a submission of the Independent Directors of South Africa, led by Professor Natterson. We had from the Legal LSSA, led by Ms. Masipa and Ms. Reynolds. And the issues are captured below. We had a submission by IRBA, led by Mr. Vanker. And we had a submission by Cycle, led by Mr. Mbalo. And submission by Aeon Management and APSIP, and followed by submission by Corruption Watch, and bids on the company's amendment bill, Chair. Meeting adjourned at 1 o'clock till the 18th of October.
Thank you. Can we have a mover and seconder for the minutes of the 17th of October? Members? Members, we need movers and seconders. And Honorable Malamacha.
Thank you, Chair. We are battling because of load shedding, man. We hear you. I stand to move for the adoption of these minutes as true reflection of what transpired on that day. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you so much for that clarity also, Honorable Malamacha. Can we have a seconder for the adoption of these minutes? Honorable Monakedi.
I so second, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. The minutes are duly adopted. Next set of minutes.
Chair, the next set of minutes will be the 18th of October. We continue with the public hearings, Chair, on the company's amendment bill and the company's second amendment bill. If Margaret can just go down. All members were in attendance, Chair. We heard submissions from BASA, Chair, led by Ms. Masamba and Ms. Haystack, Chair. That was followed, and the issues are captured below, that was raised by the members. That was followed by submission by SASO, led by Ms. Hubert and Ms. Nienaber, and the issues captured. Then we had from the National Clothing Retail Federation of South Africa, led by Mr. Lawrence. That was followed by a submission by Baker and McKenzie on the company's amendment bill, followed by Just Share on the company's amendment bill. That was followed by the Bugani Center for Investigative Journalism on the company's amendment bill, and the meeting adjourned until the 20th of October, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we have a move and a seconder for the minutes of the 18th to be adopted?
Mr. Malamacha, Chair.
Mr. Malamacha, sorry.
Thank you, Chairperson. I stand to propose the move of these minutes as true reflection of what transpired on that day.
Thank you. Can we have a seconder? Honorable Monakedi.
Chair, I second the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Minutes of the 18th of October duly adopted. Next set of minutes.
Okay, the next set of minutes will be the 20th of October. It's the final public hearing date on the company's amendment and company's second amendment bill, Chair. We had an apology from Mr. Monakedi. Chair, the first submission was by Old Mutual on the company's amendment bill, followed by Alan Gray. Then we had a submission by Computer Share, and that was followed by Agbiz on the company's amendment bill. Submission by CGCSA on the company's amendment bill, followed by Ubuntu for Global Equity. And then we have had the submission from COSATU and SACTU, and the meeting adjourned until the 24th of October, Chair.
Thank you very much. I can't take Honorable Monakedi's hand because he was not in the meeting. Can we have a mover and seconder for the adoption of the minutes?
Mr.
Honorable Malamacha.
Thank you, Chair. I stand to move for the adoption of the minutes.
Thank you. May we have a seconder? We need a seconder, members, for the adoption of the minutes of the 20th of October. Honorable Monakedi, you were not present in the meeting. I think procedurally you're not allowed to move or second.
There are other members on the platform, Chair.
Yes. Members, please, may we have
Mr.
somebody to
Mbuyane,
second?
Chair.
Mr. Mbuyane.
Babela, leadership, I
Yes.
second the said minutes.
Okay, thank you so much. Minutes of the 20th of October duly adopted. Next set of minutes.
Minutes of the 24th of October, Chair.
Chair, may I ask Mr. Hermans to share that one? I don't have that copy.
Okay, Chair, let me just
Okay.
Today we had a meeting on the 24th where we received the response from the Department of Trade and Industry on the submissions received on the company's amendment bill and the company's second amendment bill. We had an apology given. Chair, the response was led by the Minister, Mr. Patel, on the company's amendment and well as the company's second amendment bill. His response is captured in the minutes, Chair. Quite a long response. He went through all the issues that were raised. He also addressed 30A in his presentation. Professor Katz also commented on some of the issues, Chair. And the meeting adjourned until the 25th of October, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you. Can we have a mover for the adoption of the minutes of the 24th of October? Can we have a mover and a seconder for the adoption of the minutes of the 24th of October, members? Honorable Malamacha.
Thank you, Chair. I stand to move for the adoption of these minutes are the true reflection of what has been conducted.
Thank you. Can we have a seconder for that proposal, please? Can we have a seconder for that proposal, please, members?
Mr. Monakedi.
Honorable Monakedi was absent in that meeting. Am I right? Yes, he had an apology.
Yes, he had an apology, Chair.
Yeah, so we need somebody other than Honorable Monakedi. Thank you for your willingness, Honorable Monakedi.
Mr. Mbuyane, Chair.
Honorable Mbuyane.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I second the proposal for the adoption of the minute. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Minutes duly adopted. Next set of minutes.
Chair, the next set of minutes was the adoption, 25th of October. We formally considered the budget review and recommendation report. We had apologies of Mr. McPherson and Mr. Monakeri, Chair. We took the committee through the report and focused on the conclusions as captured in the minutes, Chair. That also include the recommendation. Chair, the report was adopted with the DA reserving their position on the report until meeting adjourned until the 1st of October, Chair.
Thank you very much. Can we have a move and a second? I see Honorable Mbiani's hand is up. Do you want to move for the adoption, Honorable Mbiani?
Chairperson, I move for the adoption of the said minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Malamacha.
I second, Chairperson.
Thank you. So that adopts our minutes of the 25th of October. Next set of minutes.
The next set of minutes is 31st of October, Chair.
Thank you.
We had response from the Parliamentary Legal Advisor on submission received with respect to the Companies Amendment Bill and the Company's Second Amendment Bill. We also received additional responses from the TTIC on submissions with respect to both bills, Chair. We can go on. We had an apology from Mr. Monakedi. Chair, Ms. Ibrahim, Parliamentary Legal Advisor, took the committee through the submissions, her response to the submission from a legal perspective, Chair. And Ms. Masocha also proceeded to do so in relation to the Company's Second Amendment Bill. And Ms. Masocha then also responded to the Company's Amendment Bill. Chair, the resolution of the committee that we will request the DTIC and the Parliamentary Legal Advisor to submit a redraft of clauses with respect to retrospectivity in the Company's Second Amendment Bill for its consideration. Members should study the input received from DTIC and Parliamentary Legal Advisor in preparation for its deliberation, and it will consider matters that fall outside the scope of the Company's Amendment Bill at its next meeting. The meeting adjourned until Wednesday, the 1st of November, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Can we have a mover and a seconder? I see Honorable Malamacha's hand is up.
I move, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Can we have a seconder? Honorable Mbiani.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I second the proposal for the adoption of the said minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next set of minutes, Committee Secretary.
The next set of minutes is the 1st of November. We continue deliberations on the Company's Amendment Bill, Chair. Chair, we had an apology from Mr. Bergman, Ms. Khlunyana. Chair, we started with the deliberation on the Company's Amendment Bill, where we did went through the clause by clause, and members had the opportunity to raise matters of clarity, Chair, during this. We went through each clause, Chair, and each matter is captured that was raised by members. There were clauses members had no issues with, Chair. The resolution that the meeting schedule of the 3rd be postponed to allow members to consult their respective caucuses on the amendments with respect to the Company's Amendment Bill. The DTI should seek a legal opinion on the constitutionality of the following clauses: Clause 4 and Clause 5 of the Company's Second Amendment Bill. That it will also continue to consider the matters falling outside the scope at its next meeting. The meeting adjourned and until the 7th of November.
Thank you. Honorable Mbiani.
Thank you, Chair. I propose that we adopt the 7 minutes as a true reflection of our deliberation. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Monakedi.
Yeah, I think now I qualify.
Yeah, you
comment.
qualify. 100%.
Yes, I second the proposal to have the minutes adopted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The minutes of the 1st of November duly adopted.
The 7th of November, Chair, we continue with deliberation on the Companies Amendment Bill and the Companies Second Amendment Bill, Chair. We had a full house, Chair, all over in attendance. I think so. Yeah. Chair, we with regard to the Companies Second Amendment Bill, the Parliamentary Legal Advisor led the discussions and briefed the committee on the proposed redraft to the Section 77 of Act 71 of 2008. That is clause 2, I think, to 1. And that's followed by clause 2 as well, Chair, where they presented a redraft for the committee's consideration. She also, and members then deliberated, and issues raised by members is captured from 2.4. Then that was followed by deliberation on the Companies Amendment Bill, Chair. Chair. Ms. Shorter took the committee again through clause 38, Chair. There's a resolution, Chair. The meeting scheduled for the 8th be postponed, affording PLA and the DTIC to prepare the necessary redrafts of amendments in both the Companies Amendment Bill and the Company Second Amendment Bill. With the A and B will be prepared for consideration on Tuesday the 15th, not the 17th. That's an error. We will fix that, Chair. And we will consider matters that fall outside the scope of the Companies Amendment Bill, Chair. The next meeting, yeah, was the schedule for the 15th of November, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Can we have a move and a seconder for the adoption of these minutes?
Ms. Moatse, Chair.
Honorable Moatse.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I move for adoption of the minutes.
Thank you very much. Honorable Malamacha.
I second, Chairperson.
Thank you. So we are up to date with the minutes.
Yes,
Honorable, yeah. So that concludes our items for discussion today. I just want to point out, in terms of the Companies Amendment Bill and the Company Second Amendment Bills, that parties can submit minority views if they so wish, clearly stating which clause or clauses they do not agree with and the reasons for this. This shall be captured in the committee report. It should, however, be noted that minority views may be subject to change to ensure that they are procedurally sound when including them in the committee report. So with that, we stand adjourned. Our next meeting, Committee Secretary.
Yeah, our next meeting, Chair, just due to the changes to the program, I will forward members an updated version of the program. Chair, may I just speak to the issue of the SIU and the NPA to give members...
Yes, proceed.
Chair, as requested by members, the NPA and SIU has indicated their willingness to come. However, our meeting scheduled for 28th of November, the NPA is not available because they're busy with the Justice Committee, and requested that we move the meeting. So the meeting with the NPA is scheduled for the 5th of December, which will be on a virtual platform. the meeting with the SIU will be on the 28th of November, which will be in Parliament. So that will be our meeting in Parliament with the SIU on the 28th of November. And next week, Chair, we will have a briefing by the NLC as well as SABS on the second quarter financial and financial performance reports. And the following day, we will do a formal consideration of the Companies Amendment Bill and the Companies Second Amendment Bill. Chair, I will forward to members a draft report for the inclusion in terms of minority views that parties may wish to submit for consideration. Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes our deliberations for today. Thank you very much, members.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Long live the chair, long live.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Recording stopped.